It's hilarious when you have these politicians here like Trudeau standing outside construction projects pretending to work while the sound of actual workers are clear behind them. Let's hear what Trudeau had to say.
So our budget this year is about building an economy that is fair for everyone.
Don't believe you. Excuse us, Trudeau, if we don't believe you after you gave yourself a $17,000 raise on April 1st, the same day that the carbon tax increased, all while Canadians are struggling to make ends meet. Excuse us if we don't believe government when they say they're going to make life fairer while enjoying massive pay raises while everyone else is crushed by inflation.
And one of the things that really doesn't feel very fair these days is the price of housing. It used to be that if you worked hard at a good job, you could afford a roof over your head. Après des décennies de manque d'investissement.
So the irony of this entire statement already is that Trudeau's condemning himself. Who's been in power for the last 8 years? Who's imposed policies that have created the housing crisis? Who's turned Canada, or is trying to turn Canada, into a socialist slum? It's Trudeau, it's the Liberal government, and it's the NDP coalition.
Built. When we've been taking faster than we de logement. That's why our government is stepping up to build homes faster than we have in generations. As a federal government, we've been taking leadership and making those generational investments to incentivize and support more supply. Housing gets built when every order of government steps up and our private sector and nonprofit partners have the right incentives to get shovels in the ground.
So Trudeau's actually wrong here. It's not government's job to invest. It's certainly not government's job to invest in housing. And if they do, they turn into these massive bureaucracies like the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union invested in housing, and we saw what that looked like. Everyone remembers or can look in a history book to see 1972 Moscow and observe block after block after block after block, the brown brick buildings, void of individuality, void of creativity, where every man and every woman and every child lives in exactly the same dwelling structure, no matter how hard they work and no matter what they do. It's contemptible, and it's not a reality that we want to live in. Trudeau here talks about proper incentives for the private market. We know the proper incentives. It's profit. If an industry is making profit, it's a signal to other investors to increase output in that industry, which makes society better off. That's social justice, not this nonsense that Trudeau is talking about.
Well, today, we're announcing that upcoming Budget 2024 will invest in a new initiative we're calling Canada Builds.
Yeah, let's be more accurate about that. We know Trudeau means Canada builds back better. That's what Trudeau means. He serves his masters at the WEF, UN, and so on, and does not care about the welfare of Canadians.
Canada Builds is going to turbocharge affordable apartment construction in partnership with provinces and territories. It'll provide low-cost loans, help speed up development, and build projects at the scale necessary to meet the urgent needs of Canadians. Let me walk through the details. We're going to make a massive injection of funding into our existing apartment construction loan program. Another $15 billion available.
We need to stop with this, or Trudeau needs to stop with this language saying we're making investments, as if the federal government can make a single investment on its own. Of course it can't. You are making the investment even though you don't want to. I'm making the investment even though I don't want to, because the federal government is taking tax from all of us to fund all of these activities, to buy political power, to buy political votes, that is, so they can stay on the throne. For them, it makes sense right now to do what they're doing with regards to housing. They think it's going to generate the highest return with regards to political points. And so that's what they're investing in, not for profit, no, or at least not for monetary profit, but rather for political profit.
And we're going to make the entire pot of funding available for matching partnerships with provinces and territories who come to the table with ambitious and fair housing plans. Plans that get homes built quickly and at scale. Plans that build the right housing for the right places, whether low-rise or high-rise, one-bedroom or multi-bedrooms. And plans that meet the existing expectations that this fund help build apartments that the middle class can afford. Housing built for hardworking nurses, teachers, first responders, and even the very construction workers that will help get these units built. And we're also going to make innovative reforms to the apartment construction loan program, reforms that will expand access to these funds so we can meet the needs of Canadians at every age, whether young families, students, or seniors. That'll help us fast-track the application process for proven builders. It'll encourage getting projects built on a bigger scale. These reforms will help make the math work for builders and speed up construction.
Does Trudeau not understand? No, he does understand, actually. He's just projecting an image of not understanding that you can't build homes as fast as we are bringing Canadians to this country. Like Trudeau talks about turbocharging the apartment building industry, turbocharging the number of dwelling units that we're constructing. Think about how many new individuals need homes in this country. Think about how massive the demand for housing is. It doesn't matter if Trudeau has every builder working as hard as they can right now in the country, they will not build homes fast enough to meet the immediate demand for dwelling units. They won't. They can't. It's impossible. You look at how long it takes to build an apartment complex, you look at how long it takes to build a home, and then you look at how many individuals Canada is shoveling into the country every year, and how many people want homes and apartments right now to rent. And we realize that this strategy guarantees failure. Trudeau's strategy guarantees failure. That's the point. That's the point.
Canada Builds is itself based off an idea that British Columbia came up with, and it's an idea that is fundamentally practical and fundamentally fair.
I'm convinced now that actually, along with the NDP, the provincial British Columbia government is in a coalition with Trudeau. Like that government, the federal government, should be called the Liberal NDP Provincial British Columbia Coalition, because over these last weeks here, Trudeau has cited BC again and again and again as an example for what the federal government is doing with their policies. And that's dangerous because you look at the state of BC right now. We look at the state of BC right now, and it causes all of us to be afraid of what Trudeau is doing, rightfully so. BC is a mess. It's a mess. Look at Vancouver. Are we going to reflect the housing prices in Vancouver, that paradise where it's millions and millions of dollars for a decrepit 600 square foot home?
Where provinces and territories show leadership, our government is ready to partner, and today we want to scale that ambition up right across the country. Aujourd'hui, on annonce l'initiative Famille. On va s'assurer de construire des logements au Québec, more homes built for the middle class faster. And we need this from coast to coast to coast in communities of every side. Canada's a big country. And when we take a Team Canada approach, there is no challenge too big. En travaillant ensemble.
That's accurate. Like, for example, when we mobilize in a peaceful convoy, we do stand up to tyrants like Trudeau. Now, you were sick of Trudeau, but there are questions to be asked. Let's hear what reporters had to say and how Trudeau answered them.
Chow will now begin the media availability. One question, one follow-up. First question goes to Global News.
Good morning. Prime Minister, you and your members of your cabinet have defended Mr. Dong, saying you believe he did nothing wrong. Yesterday, at the public inquiry into foreign interference, an intelligence document was tabled stating that Mr. Dong told Chinese officials that even if the two Michaels were released right away, opposition parties would view the PRC's action as evidence a hardline strategy against China works. The document also said Mr. Dong provided advice on what might, quote, help to placate public opinion and provide valuable talking points to the Liberal Party. When did you learn of CSIS's account of these conversations, and does this information change your opinion of Mr. Dong's fitness for caucus?
Foreign interference is a real challenge everywhere around the world. We know that certain countries and actors are engaged in trying to disrupt, in attempts to disrupt our institutions, our businesses, our economy, and our electoral processes. That's why in 2015, we started to work on protecting our country more from foreign interference. We created oversight bodies that watch both our elections process, that oversee all the work our national security agencies do, and we've continued to give them more and more tools. The ongoing Foreign Interference Commission is an important way of highlighting some of the challenges we face and some of the solutions that we've put forward to keep our democracy safe. And I want to reinforce to everyone that our expert, nonpartisan panel looking at the 2019 and 2021 elections confirmed that those elections happened in a way where the integrity held, where the outcome was decided by Canadians. Obviously, this commission is ongoing, and I look forward to being part of it. I will be testifying before the commission next week. This is an important way of answering these questions, of engaging with this in the right forum.
So, didn't answer the question at all. Brutal answer. Trudeau basically said, government's working on it, so you should be secure. You should feel satisfied knowing that your government makes sure that there is no interference in all of our democratic institutions. Yeah, right. We certainly feel safe considering it's coming from the perhaps or one of the most corrupt leaders, and that's really saying something, in the entire world. I feel secure, don't you? Trudeau told us to not worry about it because government's on the job. They're going to make sure that all of our institutions are safe and secure. Right, right. Even as a reporter asked Trudeau about a member or a former member of the Liberal government, and yet he refused to answer about his involvement in illegal activities. Brutal.
Okay. L'ingérence étrangère est une réalité partout dans le monde. Il y a des pays qui veulent continuer d'être et le travail qu'on fait might be needed to be done. This commission is an important moment for Canadians and for our institutions to really take stock of everything we've done to keep Canadians safe and look at what more might be needed to be done by our intelligence services to keep the integrity of our democratic institutions and our economy whole. That's why I'm looking forward to participating next week in the Commission's work.
Well, perhaps the most immediate step that has to be taken to make sure our democracy is safe is removing this man and his government from power. Who is a more immediate threat to our democracy right now in this country than Trudeau and his contemptible government? They hate democracy. They prove that. They prove that again and again over the last 4 years. No one can argue that. They shut down the country. They baptized themselves with near absolute power. They demanded that peaceful protesters not peacefully protest, instead preferring to freeze bank accounts, which was an action that was so egregious, so evil, can hardly be overstated. All of these things Trudeau does, proving that he wants to bathe himself in absolute power, indefinite power. And he's doing his best. He's working his hardest to see that Canada turns into those countries that he likes to mimic. One of them, of course, being China. That's not conjecture. He said that. He said China is one of those basic dictatorships I actually admire. That's what Trudeau said. That's not a false quote. That's a quote he said, what, back in 2016? It's absolutely unbelievable. Actually, we don't need to listen to any more questions. We've heard enough. Here is Trudeau standing in front of a construction project, acting like he's building Canada up for a better future, when in reality, all of us, everyone knows that instead of building up the country, he's tearing it down.